Okay, what an episode. Very much so filled with a lot. So, let's go over this episode right here. So, I made the theories, I talked about them. Did some of them come true? Meh. Are we still waiting? Yeah, season finale. Well, part 1 finale next week. So if you want to be in the know every time we talk about American Horror Story, make sure you are subscribed to my channel and turn on the bell notification. Check out my other videos already I did on the this season. So let's talk about this episode though, where we talked about Doris in my previous video yesterday. What was gonna happen to her? What was this whole like her taking the pill or not? Well, turns out she actually did. So this episode basically starts off with Doris giving birth. Then Harry pretty much goes gross on us and starts eating out of the waste and all of this, the blood and all that. Alma and Ursula end up actually having a sort of a team up, and you can tell these two are plotting something. Very, very much so. Alma wants to eat the baby, and actually she ends up like sucking the blood out of it a little bit, which was pretty insane when I saw that. And then she's trying to convince Doris now to take the pills, and you can tell right off from the bat she does not believe in her mom being able to become something with these pills, and she's just doing this because she wants her to become a pale thing and be gone from their lives. There's no like purity in what she's trying to do at all. Back to other things, we do see that Mickey wants Karen to run away with him to Los Angeles and leave everything behind here in this town. Karen doesn't want this. Of course, we know how she feels about the pills and all that, so she's like against it completely. And she actually is in a dilemma though, because Belle actually wants the baby that Doris and Harry have, and she of course wants to eat it, as we've seen Belle do before the babies from the first episode. Karen does not want to do this again. We saw how distraught she was after she did that in the first episode, and she just pretty much wants it all to be over. So she has the idea of actually saving the baby, getting cleaned up, and raising on her own. Mickey sort of feels like this could be a way to convince her to leave everything behind, so he decides to help. Meanwhile, Alma has finally convinced Doris to take the pills, and you just get pissed off with Alma, honestly, the way she acts and all that. But she does take the pills, and we're led to believe that she might have found a miracle here and is starting to work. Insane. Like, no, she doesn't. I'm sorry. She actually just ends up becoming one of the pale things, and we see Alma just pretty much feel accomplished from this, I feel. They end up going to dinner, Harry, Ursula, and Alma, leaving Doris and the baby behind. And I think Ursula and Alma pretty much figure that this would have maybe a good way to let Doris run away as a pale thing. As they go to dinner, however, Karen and Mickey show up at the place about to take the baby. When they actually see Doris, Karen gets spooked, runs away, and then runs into a horde of pale things. As she's about to get eaten, Mickey comes and sort of makes him go away, because if you've taken a pill and don't become one of the pale things, they sort of respect you of sorts. And he's like, the only way that you're not going to die here is if you take this pill, you will survive. If you don't, I'm leaving you here to get eaten. Ultimately, Karen does take the pill, and she doesn't become a pale thing. She actually has excelled herself. Alma then returns with Ursula and Harry, and they catch Doris trying to eat the baby, and they tell Harry that they had planned this because they wanted him to see that Doris was just going to get in the way, and this was the best thing that they could do for her. They actually have Harry come to terms with all of this, and he decides that, yeah, she was just going to get in the way, and it's better for her to become a thing like this than to be hurt when he ends up eventually leaving her and becomes successful. Mickey then takes Karen on her first hunt, and we think that everything's going to be peachy and great, but no, Karen actually turns and says, we're going to end this for both of us. She kills Mickey, drinks his blood, finishes her masterpiece, and then ends up killing herself and falling into the ocean as she goes. What we then end up seeing is Ursula and Alma going to the chemist. As they are going there, they actually spot Doris as she's eating a rabbit, which was pretty interesting since that's how Doris actually uncovered Alma eating a rabbit as well. And I thought that was interesting right there. So they're pretty much going to see the chemist to try and convince the chemist to do this business that Ursula so wants. And that's where our episode pretty much ends. Now, The next episode is going to be our series finale for part 1, Red Tide. Of course, we have Death Valley, which is part 2 coming, and I think that they are definitely going to wrap it up perfectly, I feel. And I talked about this in my Doris theory, what I thought would happen. This is exactly what I thought would happen, and it's perfect because it is such a great horror, because it's a tragedy as well, from this family, from where they begun to where they are now, and all of the things that got into the family's head with greed, with ego, and all of that pretty much led them to this demise that they have as a family now. And I thought that was something that was very well done. And honestly, I'm saying this is probably one of the best seasons of American Horror Story we've had in a bit, and I'm excited to see. So yeah, I think that this season really is one of the best in the whole series of American Horror Story. And I thought that the ending was pretty good as well. Like I said, showing Alma now looking at her mother as she was found by her mother in one of the earlier episodes. Now, what is going to happen by the end of this part 1? I do believe that Ursula and Alma going to the chemist is going to create more chaos, especially considering how the chemists feel the first time that Ursula went over there. I'm not sure she's going to be appreciative of her coming back trying to gain sympathy with a child. As I said, the chemist seems to be pretty straightforward with what they're doing and don't want any interruptions. We do see a sort of showdown as well with Evan Peters and also Belle, and I think that's going to be something that's going to happen at the home. We do see that Harry sort of wants an end to all of this from the preview, and Alma just wants to go all in further, which further sees us this tragedy continue as well, with Harry now wanting to end everything from these pills and Alma still continuing it. And I think that him getting lost in his own ambition and own ego leads to him losing pretty much everything now. The baby is missing as well. That's something we saw, and we're pretty sure that it's Belle who took the baby here. So I think a lot is going to be riding on this next episode for where we go. The episodes are a little longer as well, I noticed today, so definitely going to be packed with a lot. I do believe that the ending we get here is going to tie into Death Valley, Roswell, all of that, and it will be interesting to see. So I think that it's great. I'm pretty sure this is not the end of Doris as well. I feel like we're going to see her in some shape, way, or form by the end of the episode next week. But I do believe that it's going to be a bloodbath for sure. There is no way this ends good for anybody involved here. And I'm interested to see who's going to come out on top. And hopefully, maybe we might get some more backstory on the chemist. I did a video earlier today with my theory on who the chemist is working for, and what could be the end goal for everything. I do believe that Red Tide and Death Valley tie in together in some shape, way, or form. I don't believe it's just two single off stories. I do believe there's more to it, and I'm excited to see how they are going to wrap it all together, because it's going good so far. I'm very nervous to see if Death Valley doesn't live up to Red Tide, because Red Tide has been perfect so far. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it is the same caliber of show once we get to the second part, because it's just so good. So here's my predictions for the finale. I will be making a more thorough video on this by the weekend, so stay tuned for that. But I do believe Ursula and Alma going to the chemist is going to create more problems. I believe this is going to have Belle involved even more than she already was, and they are not going to let this fly any longer. There's going to be a somewhat of a war going on. I feel like Ursula and Harry and Belle and Evan Peters as well going at it. The chemist will be in the middle, but I feel like the chemist sort of wants to see what's going to happen just for study reasons. We will find out where these pills came from and what is the purpose of them from the chemist as well. What is the end goal of this experiment she's doing? I believe it has to do with the aliens, and then we're going to find out more about the pills when we get to Death Valley, more about what the end goal really is, not what the chemists know, because I feel like the chemist is being used in some way. But that's my theory how this is going to end. Straight up bloodbath, nobody's left alive. And yeah, that's my thoughts. What do you think? What did you think of this episode? I thought it was one of the greatest episodes in American Horror Story. Very much so filled with tragedy and horror. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts below. Anyways, as always, if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers and we're closing in on 19,000. So, super pumped for that. As always, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Check out the video on the left if you haven't already. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.